Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, we are from group 7, and in this video we would like to present one of the materials of phonetics and phonology. Specifically, we are going to talk about minimal pairs. Actually, there are many different types of minimal pairs, and we've chosen a few of them that we think are commonly used among learners. But before we start the presentation, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nola Putri Laila Tushifa. My NPM number 2010-6310-60109. And I'm from class 3E. And my partner is...
Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ruri Ina Cahyani and my number MPM is 2010-6310-60121.
Alright, so I will be the one who deliver the material first. Pronunciation is the matter of how to pronounce words through sound. Therefore, pronunciation plays an important role in learning a foreign language. Many people still have difficulties in learning pronunciation. One of them because of the pronunciation of words with similar sound. In linguistics, we know what is called learning phonetics and phonology, where they both teach about how the sound of a letter or a language sentence sounds. In phonetics and phonology, commonly referred to as minimal pairs. Minimal pairs is viewed as a technique to distinguish English sound in the words that have quite similar sound but indeed have been different meaning. These minimal pairs help us in distinguishing the sound of one language from another. And minimal pairs is a great way to practice pronunciation. In this lesson, we will talk about what minimal pairs are, how we use them, and then practice with some confusing sounds. And practicing with minimal pairs is an excellent way to improve your speaking fluency so that you can communicate clearly and effectively. So, the first question that you may have right now is, what are minimal pairs? According to Avery and Athlear 2009, minimal pairs refers to a pair of words which have different meanings and which four differ in pronunciation on the basis of one sound only. It means that minimal pair is viewed as a technique to distinguish English sound in the words that have quite similar sounds but indeed have been different meaning. Minimal pairs are pair of words that have one different sound, and that's why they can be confusing is because the word sounds very similar. And for the example, look at these words: sheep and sheep. Sheep has that long E sound, and then the word sheep, which have that short I sound. Actually, the only difference is that the vowel sound that's in the middle there. When we say the words individually, I think many learners can tell the difference. But the problem is when we're communicating, when we're speaking, when we're having a conversation, we don't really just say one word. We're speaking about a topic and we're speaking in a full sentences. And when you use some of these words in a full sentence, that words can be more confusing. So it's always good to understand what the difference is and also practice that difference. Next, the important in teaching pronunciation. Minimal pairs drill hopefully can help students in differentiating and pronouncing words that have similar sound and practicing their accuracy and fluency in reading aloud as well as oral ability. The minimal pairs approach is suitable for children with mild or moderate speech sound disorders, with one or two phonological processes that are no longer age appropriate. It can also be used with people who are looking to modify their accent Next, there are the kind of minimal pairs. The first one is minimal pairs of vowels. There are R versus L sound. So if you want to make an R sound, your tongue must be up and toward the back of the mouth. And for the L sound, your tongue is curled up and placed on the right behind your teeth. For example, right, light, collect, correct, cloud, crowd, royal, loyal. Okay, so let's try with these practice sentences. We need to take a right at the next light. The officer needs to collect the correct information. I see a very beautiful cloud in the crowd. The royal family is really loyal to the clown's crown. Next, there are long E sound versus short I sound. For the long E sound, you should open your mouth wide and your tongue must be forward and higher. And for the short I sound, your lips should be relaxed and tongue in the central area of your mouth. And here are some practice sentences. Eat, eat, deep, dip, sleek, sleek. And let's try with some sentences. Are you going to eat it? I just want to take a deep dip in the pool. He has a sleek bed and a sleek pajamas that help him sleep right to sleep. Okay, so that's quite difficult, right? Alright, so for the next material will be the refer by Ruri Indah Cahyani. Ruri, the time is yours.
Okay, now I'd like to continue the presentation from Nola. Previously, Nola has explained about what the definition of minimal pairs, how the important minimal pairs in teaching pronunciation, and last, she explained about minimal pairs of vowels. 2. Minimal pairs of consonant. B versus P. B sounds, voice sound is lips closed, stopping air, and sound is aspirated. P sounds, voiceless sound is lips closed, stopping air, and sound is aspirated. Example word: pear, beer, peer, beer, pick, big, pull, bull, rope, robe. Let's try again, okay? Okay, next we will try practice sentences. One is, there is a pair of bears behind the tree. Okay, repeat again. There is a pair of bears behind the tree. And two is, let's go have a beer out on the pier. Okay, repeat again. Let's go have a beer out on the pier. And the last is, a big pig wearing a rope pull a bull with a rope. Okay, the next material is how to produce and to pronounce English fricatives. One way to overcome students is difficult in pronouncing English fricative is minimal pairs. when two different forms are identical in every way except for one segment that occurs in the same place in the string. The two words are called minimal pairs, two words which differ in meaning when only one sound is changed are referred to as a minimal pairs. Pen versus bin, coat versus cut. This gives clearly to pronounce the different sounds from each other. Okay, the first is f and v, where the sound f and v are made. To make the sounds move the bottom lip up to the tips of top teeth. The lip only needs to touch the teeth lightly so the air can pass between the teeth and the lip. And next is voicing and length. F is voiceless sound. The vocal cords do not vibrate. When you make the sound, it is a short sound. V is voice sound. The vocal cords vibrate when you make the sound. It is slightly longer than f. Example: file, vial, live, alive, face, vest, fine, fight. 2. The and the. How the is made. The is fricative sounds. Noise is made as air passes through a narrow space made by parts of the mouth coming together. This sound is most difficult sound to make in English. You need a lot of practice to do. Okay, next is where the is made. To make this consonant, move the tip of the tongue up behind the top teeth so that it lightly touches the bottom edge. Make sure the tongue is on teeth and not behind them on the alveolar ridge or you make an th sounds. Th sounds, not th sounds. Be careful also not to press too hard because the air must move between the top teeth and the tongue. If you find this sound very difficult to make, try putting your tongue tip between the top and bottom teeth to practice the sound. Th, th. Okay, voicing and length. Th. Th is voiceless sound, that is, the vocal cord do not vibrate. When you make this sound, it is a short sound. How th is made? Th is fricative sounds. Noise is made as air passes through a narrow space made by parts of the mouth coming together. Where th is made? To make the sounds, move the tip and the front of tongue up so they lightly touch the alveolar ridge just behind the teeth. Be careful that the tongue is not on the teeth, but just behind them. Voicing and length. There is a voiceless sound. The vocal cords do not move when you make the sound. It is a short sound. Okay, example: sick, sick, tie, sigh, moat, mouse, pet, pass, think, sing, sit, sis.
Alright, so the third type, there are s and z sound. How and where is made, it can see in the second example before, and the z is similar to s in making the sound, and it is produced by the same organs of speech. It is, however, different from its voicing and length. The s sound is voiceless sounds. The vocal cords do not move when you make this sound. It is a short sound. And the z is voiced sound. The vocal cords move to make this sound. It is a little bit longer than the s sound. For example, the s sound first, sit, sat, bus, su, and price. And for the z example, there are zip, zat, buzz, zoo, and prize. Next, move to the fourth one. There are the and the sound. How to make the sound? The is a fricative sound. Noise is made as air passes through a narrow space made by part of the mouth coming together. The sound is most difficult sound to make in English. You need a lot of practice with them. And for the sound, to make this consonant, move the tip of the tongue up behind the top teeth so that it lightly touches the bottom edge. Make sure that the tongue is on the teeth and not behind them on the alveolar ridge, or you make a s sound. Be careful also not to press too hard because the air must move between the top teeth and the tongue. If you find this sound very difficult to make, try putting your tongue tip behind the top and bottom teeth to practice the sound. When you can do it that way, try moving your tongue back behind the teeth to make the sound. Voicing and length. The is voice sound. That is, the vocal cord do not vibrate when you make this sound. It is a slightly longer sound than the t sound. And how to make the is sound? This sound is stop. The air coming from lungs and stop for a short time and let out explosively. You try to feel that air stop by the front of the tongue and touching the alveolar ridge. This ridge is behind your top teeth, and it is important that you touch the ridge and the teeth. And then feel the air let out when the tongue is taken away from the alveolar ridge. Voicing and length. The is voice sound. The vocal cord move to make this sound. It is a longer sound. And the example from the sound, there are the, there, they, thus, and then. And for the sound, there are though, there, they, those, and then.
Okay, the next material will be explained about the differ of phonemes. In essence, it approaches focus on contrasting differences between phonemes in order to reorganize a child's sound system. Phonemes can differ by three components. One is place. What the place? Place is some sounds are made with the lips, the tongue tip, or the back of the tongue. 2. Manner. Some sounds use a long continuous flow of air, and some sounds are short and stop as soon as they begin. And the last, the 3 is voicing. We switch our voices on to make some sounds, but turn our voice off for other. In the case of a minimal pair, the two words differ by a single phoneme and by one or two features across place and manner of articulation and voicing. For example, let's look at the pair cap and tap. These two words are identical in terms of the vowels and final consonant They only differ by the initial phoneme. And this involves a small difference in place of production. Velar versus alveolar. The next material is the minimal pairs approach. 1. Identify the target phonological process. For example, a 3-year-old boy, the name is Ben, has voicing errors. He turns up his voice at the start of his word when he should be turning it on. He says pig instead of big. In this case, we want Ben to say B. We call this the target. Okay, you understand? The Ben is the target because he confused two different between pig and big. Okay, the next is 2. Before the season, select 3 between 5 and 5 minimal pairs of words. The contrast the paired phonemes. According to research, only 3 to 5 word pairs are needed to make permanent change in a child phonological system. In Ben's case, we can choose pig, big, pie, buy, park, bark, peg, bag, p, b. Okay, the 3 introduce the minimal pair words to the child by showing the picture of the pairs and naming them aloud. We want to make sure Ben knows the vocabulary. This is sometimes tricky when contrasting sounds with few words option. Okay, or have the child point to the word you name. This gives us an idea whether the child can hear the difference between the two contrasting phonemes, P versus B. This is sometimes called auditory discrimination. And 5. Know, reverse the rules and help the child name the words. 6. When the child uses the wrong sounds, pick for the target pick up the picture that the child named and not the one intended. For example, when Ben points to the picture called big but says pig, pick up the picture of the pig. Okay, remember. And 7 is give the child feedback to signal he or she has made a mistake. Give she or he a signal. Okay. In Ben's case, I might say, "Oh, do you mean peg or big? I'm not sure what you mean. Tell me again." This is a teaching moment where Ben learns he needs to say the word differently for others to understand him. Okay, try to understand him. 8. Work with the child till he or she gets it right about 60% of the time. And last, the 9 is move onto the other paired words, one set at a time, a sentence level. You can use career phrases at this stage, like I love black. My favorite color is black, and etc. Okay, the next material is minimal pairs therapy activities. 1. If child is reading or has good phonological awareness skills, discuss the letter sound correspondences of the targeted contrasting phoneme first. 2. Play a sorting game. In this activity, you will have to cut the pairs in half. Have the child sort the F words into one pile, the teach word into another pile. Add some fun to this game by sorting into fun container or pretending the cards are eaten by a puppet. If your child is savvy enough to cheat by looking at the printed words or the cards, hide the text when they are performing the sorting text. Okay? And the 3 is auditory bombardment. Have the child put on his or her listening ears, then read all the F word to the child, next read all the teach word. Finally, read the contrasting pair slightly emphasizing the contrasting phoneme. 4. Listen and point game auditory discrimination. Again, have your child put on his or her listening ears. Place one contrasting pair set in front of the child. Hide your face behind a piece of paper and say one of the words. The child must point to the word you produce. To make this activity a little harder, use the word with a carried phrase. Like, I see a blank, I like the blank, etc. Okay, next, memory game. Cut pairs in half. Shuffle the cards and lie in grid face down. Play memory using the contrasting pairs and two halves of a match. And next, matching game. Cut pairs in half too. Okay? Shuffle the cards and have the child sort and match the contrasting pairs. Okay? The 8 is production practice. Practice, practice, and practice. Remember, okay? Practice. Have the child say the word, say the F word, say the teach word, then say the word contrast pairs. Okay, next is create a sentence. Cut pairs in half, shuffle the cards and draw 2 to 3 cards. Make up sentences using those cards and have the child repeat the sentence. If they can, have the child make up their own sentence. And the last is create a story. Cut pairs in half to shuffle the cards and draw 4 to 6 cards. Make up a story using those cards and have the child tell it back to you. Okay? If they can, have the child make up their own story. So, from the previous description, it can be concluded that the minimal pairs is very, very important to learn. Because by learning about minimal pairs, it can help us in differentiating and pronouncing words that have similar and practicing their accuracy and fluency. And also, by learning and practicing minimal pairs, it can help us to overcome our difficulty in pronunciation of English sound. Besides that, minimal pairs also has many uses for everyday life because language as a human verbal communication tool of course has certain rules. So, suggestion for you all, by making this paper, we hope that we can understand more about the importance of minimal pairs and understand a little more about minimal pairs, so we can easily understand the difference of words that have sound very similar. Hopefully this paper useful for all of us. So I think it's enough for us, for Nola and me. So sorry for many mistakes, and thank you. See you next time. Bye bye.